We're reaching now the peak of, for us at least, it's a peak of of the convention. For many years now, we've been inspired by, let's say, by Rotterdam. If you've been to our previous conventions, we've met a few times. We met twice, Leon, and we also had an exhibition last year of the rooftop catalog. The rooftop catalog is the doing of the team from MVRDV-Next that I'm going to introduce now. And you know, when you meet somebody that is same-minded, that is doing exactly what we are doing, but in a different scale, in a different country, for us it gives us a places to, this is real inspiration. So I want, first of all, to thank you for joining us today, coming all over to be with us here in Jerusalem. It's not your first time, because you have also a few projects that you're doing in Jerusalem, in Tel Aviv, but still, to our convention, it's the first time, and we appreciate a lot the effort. And I'm going to invite Sana, that is leading MVRDV-Next. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Matan, for the introduction. We're very happy to be here today and to be speaking to all of you. My name is Sana van der Berg. I'm here together with my colleague Leo Stuckardt, and I'm actually going to introduce Leo with a short overview of who we are and why we are here in Jerusalem today with you. What we're looking at here is something that you might think, what is this? And the slide, hold on. I'm still learning how to operate the slides. So we're going to talk about green dreams, because it's easy to love green. Everybody loves green. And today we hope to answer some basic questions about how to translate green dreams into green realities, and how can we use data and technology to leverage the potential of roofs. We are a global firm. We work all over the world, and our headquarters is in Rotterdam in the Netherlands. And this is a building that we built in the Expo 2000 in Hanover. And what you see here is our first attempts of creating a building that generates energy, and that's also nature inclusive. You see that there is a forest on the 3rd floor. But more than anything, it's a series of roofs stacked on top of each other, and each roof has a different program. So how to program roofs in smart ways. This is the Market Hall in Rotterdam. This is a building that we designed. And what you see here is actually 2 residential buildings next to each other. And what we did is we connected them with a roof. And by actually putting penthouses in the roof and by programming the roof, we were able to pay for a public space that is below it. So roofs can also become business cases that help you create new, vibrant urban spaces. And of course, green cities, active cities, healthy cities need to be programmed and green. And this is a picture that you see of Eindhoven, a city in the Netherlands, that is only 7% green. It's very stony. And we created a vision, again, a green dream of, can we program the roofs? Can we make the roofs accessible? Can we even connect them with bridges? And then you might say, Sana, this is crazy. Nobody will do this. But what we say is that if we aim for 400%, along the way we might end up with 100%. So if you just set your ambitions high and actively engage with your stakeholders, things can happen. And a lot starts with initiative. And we see that from Matan, who organized all of this, to take initiative and to bring people together is extremely important. What you see here is the main street to our office in Rotterdam. And one of our colleagues created the initiative. She said, this is all stone, we need more green. And she started an initiative, bottom up, led by herself, to create green spaces in the city by replacing parking lots with pocket parks and activated gardens. And this is a community engagement project. So it shows that by working together and collaborating, you can actually build pilots to inspire people to bring change. The same here in the city of Den Haag. What you see here is a street that is completely designed for cars, but 200 years ago it used to be a canal. And also here we dream of bringing back the canals to the city and to create space for ecology, but also space for water and space for pedestrians. And also here, what we did is we not only made a vision, but we also quantified the impact of the vision. How much green can we add? How much air can we purify? How much noise can we reduce? And how much carbon can we not emit? And also, there's again a business case behind it. So it's not only a green dream that is good for ecology and for people, but it's actually also the economy by creating a tourism, an active touristy, an active environment with businesses that can thrive. We explained this all to the city council, and everybody in the city council from all the different parties were convinced, and with an almost North Korean vote, everybody in the city council voted in favor of this project. So getting people along and getting people to fall in love with green dreams to us is very important to take steps. We also do research into how we can get things done and activate green roofs. This is a research that we did in large-scale retail units, in this case in Italy. And what you see here is the most successful architectural export product of Germany. And this is the Lido in Augsburg. And what you see here is the Lido in Tuscany, in Pisa. And it's the same. And this is very strange, because if you want to build a holiday home in Tuscany, you have to follow all sorts of rules and guidelines, and actually Lido can copy the same thing everywhere. So when we were asked to design something like this, a large wholesale market in Taiwan, we said we see an opportunity to not follow this behavior and actually create a wholesale market that is a roof, and it's also a landscape. And what you see from this side, it's accessible and it's green. And from the other side, when you see it, it actually completely blends in with the landscape. And this is the power of rooftops and how roofs can actually help the city. This is a project in Shenzhen. As you see, this is a bit of a world tour, but you see the theme of green and roofs. This is a building in Shenzhen that was nominated to be demolished. And instead of demolishing the building, we reprogrammed it, we transformed it into a creative industries hub with an activated green roof. And we added public space in Shenzhen, where the trend at that moment used to be to just demolish buildings. And this started a new trend in Shenzhen to actually think of transforming rooftop programming instead of demolition. So there is hope. Not only roofs can be programmed and activated, but actually complete infrastructural products. And what you see here is a dilapidated flyover for cars. It was no longer in use. And what we did here is we turned it into, you could almost say, a national park. This is a pedestrian crossover with all the species of South Korea sorted from A to Z, so you can learn about nature and enjoy the urban cooling effect when you cross this bridge in Seoul. We design with ecology, but also with energy, and that's what you see here in this artificial intelligence campus that we're currently doing in Germany, in Heilbronn. And what you see is this green artery that runs through it, but also all the roofs, in this case, are used for energy generation. And this is a case where we actually master plan by designing with energy on the roofs. And the last example that I'm going to show before we move to Leo is this building here. This is the Valley in the Netherlands. And this is 3 residential towers. And they look a bit rugged along the edges. The shape of this building has been completely informed by sun, shadow, and wind. So this is an environmental design. And what you see here is that those towers are actually carved, but they're connected with a plinth. And if we look at the public realm, the streets inside this building, these are actually the roofs. So you would think that this is a street in between the towers, but underneath where there's actually public space with retail and offices. So roofs can actually become vibrant public realms. And there's one other interesting thing about this project, if you look at it, and that is that you see these balconies, and they are all sort of open to the sky. And last year we presented this project in a lecture in Israel, and somebody approached us afterwards and they said, "This is great for sukkahs." And then we thought, sukkahs, interesting. So we are also constantly learning, and this is fantastic about working together and listening to each other. So we started looking into these sukkahs, we got kind of excited, and with our R&D group that Leo and I are set up and are running, we made something that is a software called the Sukkah Maker. And we thought, yeah, if sukkahs are, they're super interesting, can we design something makes buildings based on sukas? Can we maximize the amount of sukas? And maybe we could do that not only in a courtyard block, but also in a slab or a tower. So we see the richness and the added value of immersing in other cultures and bringing learnings into our practice. That is the rough introduction, and that's also why we are here now in Israel. We are already active in the country, several projects. We are learning, and mainly we're here today to talk about a subject that's very close to our hearts, and that is indeed how roofs can help the cities to be greener, healthier, and denser. And with that slide, I'm going to introduce Leo Stuckardt, my colleague, who is going to talk about our latest research project, Roofscape. So give it up for Leo.
Thanks, Sanne. Thanks, everyone, to bear with us at the end of this day. Matan, you say you invited us to learn from Rotterdam. After the presentations today, I'm not so sure anymore if it's not us actually learning from you. Okay, so let's focus the gaze towards the rooftops. I think a lot of what Sanne showed in the introduction already signifies one of the core values that we believe in at MVRDV, which is the intersection between architecture, design, and prototype and experiment, and applied research and systematic thinking. So this project is actually in a lineage of a lot of small insulated experiences and discoveries about rooftops, and it's focused in Rotterdam. Maybe one thing, if I may go back here, what's important to say, and I think a relatively unique characteristic of the project, is that we collaborated with the municipality of Rotterdam from the start. So there was no idea on how to tackle the rooftop systematically in the beginning, and we kind of developed a full brief together with them. Rotterdam has been dreaming about rooftops for a long time, and over the last 10 years in particular, we see these sporadic pop-ups, some of them temporary, like rooftop gardens, other ones very early examples of MVRDV's architecture. So this is a private residential top-up that took years to complete, of course, because there was a lot of objection and skepticism to cover the rooftops with these kind of unique and very, very visible elements. This is a recent project which also utilizes decommissioned public infrastructure to create a public garden. And then, of course, there's the question of access as well. So this is a temporary installation by MVRDV that was completed in 2016. The stairs to Criterion, I think it had 100,000 visitors in the opening weekend. So these kind of temporary installations, of course, they're daring. They're somewhat unpractical for permanent use, but they create a lot of momentum and a lot of initiative. So that's an essential component of what we develop, prototypes, festivals, just to showcase the potential. And then, of course, all of us believe in the qualities of rooftops. No? It's less loud, there's air quality. I don't have to tell you how nice it is to be on the rooftops. We will see it at the end of today in person. So in the first step to move this from architectural interventions and isolated prototypes towards something more holistic and systematic, MVRDV developed the Rooftop Catalog. That's a book that's completely free to download and to purchase in print. It was published last year, and it's essentially, as the cover suggests, it's a collection of imaginaries. So strategies that are relatively precisely applied to Dutch typologies, and that mainly try to imagine what can we do on the rooftops. So what is the amount of diversity of programs that we can imagine? That's basically what we had to build Roofscape on. At the same time, of course, it's not only dream, quality, and imaginary and desire, but there are also urgencies. So until recently, we're just starting to explore or to realize how much potential rooftops have, how little they're utilized until now, and how much they could also then help to address the climate, the crises of today. So we're facing the climate crisis, of course. There's a biodiversity crisis. In the Netherlands, in particular, there's a very strong housing crisis as well on the way. And most importantly, not everyone agrees to how important these different crises are. So conflicting interests, negotiation between stakeholders, between groups is also very important. Therefore, we tried in this first instance to develop a software, no? Like the idea of a game as a process of negotiation, of to some extent scoring or weighing decisions against each other. But behind the interface of the software that we will show you in a moment is actually a process more than, I think first and foremost. In Rotterdam, we can see that a lot of these things are already on the way. There's an energy transition with goals until 2050 to become completely climate neutral. There's a strong drive towards a circular economy. Again, 2050 is the roadmap to close the material loop. There's the goal to become climate resilient and a very ambitious setting of 2025 to become fully climate adaptive. And generally the question of healthy living environment. At the same time, as I already mentioned, the housing crisis, there's the goal to build 1 million new homes in the Netherlands, and Rotterdam is supposed to absorb 33,000 of those new homes. We'll address, or we'll get back to that at the end of the presentation. So, how much can rooftops then contribute, and in which ways can they contribute to these different crises? You have 5 colors, I think, no? We have 7. It's also very interesting to see that on most of them we are aligned, but then of course some of them, either for climatic or cultural reasons, differ. So I'll quickly introduce our framework in the Netherlands that is not something that we developed, but that we build upon, which starts with social rooftops. Again, a temporary installation on top of the Dutch Architecture Institute in Rotterdam last year, 2022, which both created a new form of access as well as this public podium, which was hosting events, lectures, yoga lessons, parties, all kinds of things throughout the summer last year. But then, of course, there are other forms. And again, the rooftop catalog goes in depth and creates unfeasible, crazy, beautiful imaginaries as well as very practical ones. Some of them beer gardens, sky clubs, and so on. Then, of course, the next color is green, biodiversity. I already showed that photo, but of course we could also imagine to collect beekeeping on the rooftops. It's happening in a few of them already in the city. Urban jungles, mixity, connection between parks and green areas in the city through rooftops, as the valley actually does. And one of the key one, of course, maybe one of the most least visible ones, energy production. So photovoltaic as well as more complex infrastructure such as power nests. In the Netherlands, as you might have heard, it's raining a lot and sometimes really intensely. So also the question of rainwater retention is a thing, storage, and then again the 1 million homes, how to top up. We have a lot of those. I think this is one of the most extensive sections of the catalog. Here are some excerpts. Another prototype, another realization of last summer. So in a way, maybe last summer was our rooftop festival in Rotterdam, which prototyped both the activation of a department store on the left, the central department store of Rotterdam, as well as a series of bridges and public access through the city. It won the Rooftop Award, I think, of the Netherlands last year. And again, there are more experimental settings such as drone delivery stations within the city, and also new pathways and public routes through the city that rooftops could support. Technical infrastructure, of course, is a big part as well. But then most importantly is this question of mixity, of multi-criteria rooftops. As the She-block shows, social spaces next to urban farming, and so on. So in a way, ultimately, that's the dream that we have, a combination of all 7 colors in a city that is completely accessible on the rooftops and completely activated. So let's go into the software. This is a screenshot. So the tool that we developed together with the municipality of Rotterdam is building on a lot of data. So in a way, the first step in the process that we took is just to look at all the data that's available in Rotterdam from various sources. And what's very interesting, I think, is that this tool is built to 99% on open data. There's one small part on ownership that was obviously proprietary, but the rest is completely open source. What the goal that we had is both to have this holistic gaze, to see the whole city at the same time, be able to quantify decision-making processes, so new regulations as well as subsidies and encouragement, towards stakeholders to activate the rooftops, but also to zoom in on the individual rooftop and to kind of visualize the impact that decision-making on the level of a single rooftop can have for the city. So we made a software. That's our colleague Jaka, who came with us, lead developer of the application, using the Roofscape as a software, as you can see on the left, as well as a report or a manual guideline on the right. At the same time, the way that we designed the tool is as simple as possible. So we were going for direct implementation at the municipality of Rotterdam, and therefore the goal is, of course, if you want to bring something in quickly at scale, the goal was to keep it as simple as possible. So there's a lot of complexity behind the scenes, but as you can already in a way see on the screen, it's like 6, 7 sliders to weigh and relate things against each other. So more than anything, it's a tool that can facilitate conversation, discussion, and collective decision making. It's an open process. It's entirely built on open source. I already kind of revealed that that's nearly the case, but most importantly, it's flexible in the data that it uses. So from the beginning, what was important for us is also transferability. We try to tailor it to a Dutch context, try to tailor it to the Dutch policy-making processes, but we want to keep the tool transferable. So if we were to bring it to Israel and the data structures that you have publicly available differ, the tool will still work. I know it's late, so we'll not go too deep into data, but as I said, the key part here is really open source data. And what we discovered in the Netherlands is that there's a lot available, and that in a way, it's very underused. So there's this kind of common regime of, let's collect a lot of data, let's map everything, and then we will do. That's the question, like no one really knows. So that's the feeling that we had, at least. There's a lot of data, there are digital twins, there's a public model of the municipality. There's another one for there are multiple of these. And then in a way, the question is how to operationalize this, how to bring it from a collection of the world as it is now to impacting the world that we want to design together. In addition to that, we developed our own workflow. So here we utilize architectural tools that we generally employ for the development of our projects, as well as simple computational algorithms to analyze the 3D model of the city and induce more characteristics, which can be spatial, so the heights of rooftops or the inclination of rooftops, or can be performative, so the energy production potential or the quality of a view, for instance. So all in all, this is the overview, and in a way the brief of the project. You see we have a roof, or a lot of roofs in the city, and we have a lot of different data sets, and at the end of it, of course, we have our framework in the Netherlands, so the colors, how to connect them. In a way, if we look at the data sets, there are 2 families, so 2 groups. One talks about the architectural properties of the rooftop itself, so how high is it, how strong is the structure, what could it support, and so on. And the second one is where is it located, which could fall under, for instance, an area that is deemed a monument and has protection status, or a green corridor of the city, and so on. So, yeah, what is the capacity of the architectural object, and what is the existing dream, desire, or ambition of the neighborhood that it's located in. And what we then developed is essentially a set of recipes for each of these 7 colors to define the preferences and requirements for a rooftop to either become green, blue, yellow, or so on. And therefore, we're able to project not only in ideal configurations, but in a way infinite configurations of rooftops that are possible, depending on who you talk to. So if we work with the Department of Sustainability in the municipality, this will probably shade towards green and yellow quite quickly. If you talk towards the Minister of Housing now, who's panicking how to build this 1 million homes, will turn purple. So negotiation and discussion, again, or even a form of gamification of these really complex processes is what we try to prototype here. Roofscape will show a short video of how the tool actually works or how you interact with it.
Rotterdam has been dreaming about its rooftops for a while now. Already, a new layer of urban activity is emerging on top of the city. Roofscape is a digital tool that supports the making of rooftop strategies. How can we help uncover the hidden potential of rooftop landscapes? How can we foster their development through policies and strategies? How can we identify a variety of rooftop programs that work together and show their positive impact on the city? How do we envision rooftop strategies that are created and used by everyone? Let's explore the Roofscape prototype. An interactive open application that generates insights on the basis of extensive urban data sets. Users can select target areas in the Explorer, load all relevant data sets for the target area, and calculate the target area's rooftop capacities. They can also visualize the rooftop capacity for a single program and make adjustments according to their specific limitations. Roofscape's Scenario Maker combines all activity potentials at once and allows users to adjust these activities according to specific urban needs. Need hard numbers? The tool calculates them and shows impact in real time. The methodology for these calculations is outlined in detail within the openly accessible Roofscape report. Roofscape is an ongoing interdisciplinary collaboration between the City of Rotterdam, MVRDV, and Superworld. Want to know more or join us? The application and a detailed report are openly available at the link in the description below.
So where are we right now? We're essentially at this point of talking with cities, mostly in Europe, UK, and the UK, seeing how we can transfer this, expand the tool, and tailor it towards new contexts. At the same time, within the Netherlands, we applied it, and I mentioned initially that there's a housing crisis going on, and essential question of this, of course, is capacity. So there's a goal of 1 million homes. How do you divide this? How do you assess how much each of the cities and even neighborhoods can contribute to it? So for Rotterdam, we ran a study on the whole city. We analyzed 18.5 square kilometers of rooftops. And we actually came to the conclusion that if you filter towards realistic top-ups, on the rooftops alone, we could cover create nearly 60,000 new homes, which is twice as much as is currently required. We remember it was around 33,000 homes. So that's interesting, at least at this point already, to discuss with politicians and understand. For instance, challenge the question of new construction. No? Like if you can top up all of these rooftops, we wouldn't have to build any new structures. That's the flow chart of it. And at the same time, as I mentioned, we're looking to expand. We're of course fascinated by the context that we see here and by all the work and actually knowledge that's already existing within Israel and Jerusalem. These are the initiatives that we're looking at in the Netherlands. So this might look abstract. The one in the middle on the top is Rotterdam. And the one on the bottom left here is Amsterdam. So what we're interested to discover, of course, to get a feeling for is what does Jerusalem need, what does Tel Aviv need, what does Haifa need, and what would be the context that we're operating here, what are the challenges that you're facing, and how to transfer the tool, which of the elements, which of our insights that we already developed could be transferred, and what we have to completely redevelop to make it suitable here. So for this, we'll have a workshop tomorrow afternoon, which will be hosted by Sanne, myself, our colleague Jaka, Dana, Matan. So big group. You're all invited. We're looking forward to. Okay, I'll take that last part back. But so basically, it's a first step of bringing this tool to Israel, and we're very excited.
Thank you. So we have a few minutes for questions. Does anybody want to ask something?
Yes, yes. It's so this is, since it's a first prototype, it's developed within a game engine called Unity, but we upload the application is, I think, can be accessed through this link. It's shared on the Google Drive. It's open source, and if you're eager to explore, if you have any questions, please get in touch with us. Since the project was developed in a relatively short time and under a very narrow budget as well, we didn't have time to write extensive documentation, but you can download all the material we have, and you can ask us questions if you have trouble to set it up, yes. Are you asking about the data? So the data at the moment is limited to Rotterdam because it is quite extensive, and of course it also required a lot of reformatting of the data. There's a full list in the report, but as I mentioned, since they have in a way recipes, if a data set would be missing, that would just be left out or not considered in the recipe of the. If we wanted to add new data sets to it that are maybe more specific or different formats here, then we would have to rewrite or append that to the recipes. That is a part that we would like to make interactive within the tool. Currently it is hard-coded if you want, since it's a prototype. Yeah.
I just want to say, I can see all of you wanting to ask the questions. I would like you to speak to the mic, and so I'll give Dorit, and I'll come. Do you want to?
Hi, thank you very much. I wanted to ask if you have any implementation strategies as well, and especially in terms of private ownership and ownership questions and relations in between buildings.
Yeah, that's a question which would probably be more suited for our partners at the municipality of Rotterdam. Generally, I think just so much. In the morning already we heard a lot about speed and acceleration of planning and urgencies and awareness and so on. We have the same in the Netherlands. That's why we developed this actually rather fast last summer. What we had to discover at the end of this process is that the municipalities still operate much slower. So we are now still in the process of implementation since last November. There's a lot happening within the municipality of Rotterdam and also partnerships with other cities, which will for now focus on implementing this in policy making. But ultimately our dream or our goal, our ambition with this is to make it accessible directly to private owners as well, and facilitate the activation of rooftops.
And indeed, I can add something to that. I live in the city of Delft, which is very close to Rotterdam, and there was a similar issue with water retention and a lack of green. And I was always dreaming of a green roof, and the city actually set up an initiative, and they actually paid half of my green roof. So the cities are also engaging in this and opening up subsidies to encourage people to actually engage and interact with their roofs and add solar, add green and water retention. Also, the city of Rotterdam is already working with this tool now to inform their policies. So when it comes to implementation, these are the type of measurements that you can imagine. And we're currently also talking to the city of Tel Aviv, and we're also wanting to talk to Jerusalem about how we can take these steps and discover what the possibilities are here. Because in a way, Roofscape, it's a software, it's a tool, but it's much more than that. It's actually a vehicle for collective discovery and debate and exploration. And that, to us, is the most valuable outcome of this tool, is that it helps us gain new insights and unlock and discover opportunities together.
Yeah.
Hi, I have a question here. Hi.
Yeah, hi.
What is the basic information that a city needs in order to use this tool? Because you mentioned a digital twin.
Yeah.
Is that something mandatory? Is that it seems like this is the base for everything.
Yeah. In a way, the only requirement that we have is a 3D model. So a geometrical three-dimensional representation. The more the better. If there's additional information, that's great. But from such a model, a lot can be already generated. No? As I mentioned, most of the spatial properties, structure is something that would need more information, of course. In the Netherlands, in Rotterdam, for example, we inferred structure largely from the date of construction, which was a shift from wooden foundations to concrete. So yeah, the more the better. 3D model already works quite far. In the Netherlands, the 3D model is on a really high level and geometrically or topologically very, very clean. We saw, for instance, already that Jerusalem has an amazing LiDAR scan, so a point cloud that would need further processing. There is expertise for something like that also in the Netherlands. We collaborate a lot with TU Delft, which is close, well, in Sanne's hometown, the technical university, which actually developed the process of creating this 3D model, which is of the Netherlands, of the entire Netherlands, from point cloud to simplified geometry, which is then workable for our algorithms or other algorithms. So base would be a 3D model of the city.
So I think that what we saw here in the conference today was some of the best practice in Israel, but still there are very little projects around the country today. And it sounds from your presentation like it's obvious now in the Netherlands and other places that, of course, a roof should be useful in some way. And we already heard from Sana, you started talking to two of our largest municipalities to change that. But I was wondering if you have any tips for us, everyone sitting here, on how can we try and push it to the next level? Because I think the entire conference idea was that, and we're looking for more tips from specialists, so thank you.
I can give it a start, but we have been here walking around in Israel for the past few days, Jerusalem, Haifa, Tel Aviv. And what we discovered is there is a lot going on, and we sometimes just saw a stair, we went up, and there's actually a lot happening, and we were inspired and surprised by the things that originate from bottom-up initiatives. And then we thought, wow, there is so much, but maybe people don't know that it's all there, because they are initiatives, they're fantastic, but they're not yet connected. And I think that's why also what Matan is doing here to gather and share insights, that's step one, to know that you're not alone. And there are a lot of people doing this at the same time. And we were even dreaming of it yesterday, that it would be fantastic to have something like maybe a Tinder for roofs. If you do something on your roof, we could make an app, and then you say, hey, there's something on my roof. Maybe there could be a route or a journey, maybe simple things, some signs on the streets, indicating that something is happening, and that is actually not a series of initiatives, but a bottom-up movement. And I think to connect the dots is very empowering. So we see a lot of opportunities for connecting the dots and linking all the initiatives together, and then all of a sudden it's not a lot of dots, it can be a swarm and a movement as well.
I think, yeah, maybe just so much to add to that. First of all, an event like this, to be honest, we didn't have that yet in the Netherlands, I think. No? Like a rooftop convention in such a format between experts. And so that already goes quite far. The other part that we tried to show today is, I guess, what is needed is a combination of prototypes, interventions that you can feel, smell, and breathe. And on the other hand, data, of course, rationale to convince stakeholders of the impact of the performances, which will, in a way, be the only way to combat the obvious counter-argument of costs and financing. And then the other element in between this is vision. It's like to illustrate, almost to the point of the absurd, as Sanne said, illustrate the 400% rooftop landscape, and just create these dreams and pick up everyone from students to residents to create communities and kind of also figure out what you want as a collective. No? And then I think that's a way that we as a firm operate, not only for rooftops and research projects or strategies. I would say that our architectural projects in a way start off the same way, almost to the absurd, or like at least to the extreme, radical and uncompromising. And then throughout the process, of course, and throughout the years, you will have to give concessions here and there, maybe even discover that what you can create is better than the vision. But yeah, so I would say it's these three components of physical experience, collective dreams that are illustrated to images, drawings, spatial qualities, and of course the rationale through data and quantification.
And the power of the community, because today we are here a community, and the power of collaboration.
I want another thought from you. Okay, last time we met, Sana, you said that you know that, okay, rooftop is important, but actually architecture has few other big challenges in the future. So I'm wondering if you can share with us also on other topics that MVRDV are working on, so we'll know what to expect next. What's on your agenda in the next few years?
I am so happy you asked me this question. Do we still have an hour? Because then I can talk about my favorite subject, climate and the planet. Because you know the IPCC reports. Leo thinks, oh God, here we go. You have read the IPCC. We've read the IPCC reports. Climate change is real. We are emitting way too much carbon as consumers, as the people, the building industry. So architects are responsible for 40% of greenhouse gas emissions. So we have a huge responsibility that we should take. And what we are currently doing, and that's really our new passion, is that we have to learn how to become truly sustainable. And the danger with sustainability is that it's a multi-headed monster. It can be anything. Sustainability can be healthy, it can be about water, it can be about green, about nature inclusivity. But how do we actually really address climate change? That is through understanding our carbon emissions. So we are actually trying to reinvent ourselves at the moment, and we're going through a carbon revolution inside the office. And we are making steps on how to learn to use less concrete, because concrete contains cement, and cement is really bad for the environment. And we are learning in a very fast pace how to build bio-based and how to build lightweight. And on the artificial intelligence campus that I showed earlier, we are taking the first steps into building timber hybrids, but also full timber structures, mass timber. And we're even taking one step further now, and we are working with rammed earth, which is also very experimental, and we're getting our first straw bale building now. And when you think of MVRDV, you might think, yeah, we do architecture projects all over the world, and we are actually now trying to reinvent ourselves with clay, with mud, with straw bales, and with wood. And this is a super exciting journey for us as well, but it is needed that we actually change ourselves and be curious. And that's also very important, that we do not continue business as usual anymore, but we always have to be open, curious, and learn and discover new things. And this is something that is incredibly important. So that's where we currently are.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Please. תודה רבה. בבקשה. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much.
We're done, I'm sorry. We have to finish, although we want to keep on. We can listen for hours. Thank you so much for coming and for closing our convention. מה? יהיה ביחד. לפני I'm going to switch to Hebrew, okay? לפני שאתם הולכים, אני רואה שאתם יושבים, אז תודה רבה לכם. אנחנו צריכים לעשות דבר אחד אחרון ממש ממש חשוב, וזה להגיד תודה. עכשיו, בדרך כלל זה החלק שבו כולנו כבר מתחילים לפשפש בזה, ורוצים ללכת, אבל העדות שלכם לתודה הזאת היא נורא חשובה. אז אני רוצה לבקש מכם רגע להישאר ולעזור לנו, ככה, הנה, אתם רואים, מתרגשת, להגיד מהלב תודה. כי, אני לא יודעת, אנחנו עושים הרבה דברים, אבל אני חושבת שהדבר הזה הוא אחד הדברים הכי מיוחדים שאני מעורבת בהם. והשנה הייתה לנו באמת זכות לשתף פעולה עם המון 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 אנשים טובים. אז מתן, תגיד תודה. אני אגיד עוד כמה.
טוב, דבר ראשון אני רוצה להגיד תודה לוועדת ההיגוי של הכנס, שבאמת אני לא חושב שהיינו צריכים למצוא כל כך הרבה רעיונות ודוברים מעניינים בלעדיה. יש פה בעצם שותפות של הרבה מאוד ארגונים ואנשים. אז המועצה לבנייה ירוקה, משם יש לנו את טל מייז, המנכ"לית שלא הייתה איתנו היום, אבל היא איתנו ברוחה. התאחדות האדריכלים ובוני הערים בישראל, לאדריכל דינאי אורנשטיין ולאדריכל אחיה פל. מאיגוד אדריכלי הנוף בישראל, יש לנו את טלי וקסלר.
טלי פה עוד איתנו, שגם הנחתה היום מרחב, ושאלה חכמה ותודה, טלי.
מפורום ה-15, מאיה קרבטרי, שאיתנו כבר שנים רבות, ובזכותה כל הפורום מגיע ושותף ומעורב. אני רוצה גם להודות מאוד לתמר קרמון, מארגון גג, שצנחה לתפקיד השנה, והיא עשתה שם מה זה מהפכה בכל מה שאנחנו עושים, זה מדהים. כמובן, אני רוצה להודות לאיגוד המתכננים, לתמי גבריאלי, למעבדה, למדיניות התכנון, בטכניון, לאדריכלית נוף, גילת לוינגר, שגם נתנה הרצאה מרתקת על ניו יורק. I want to thank you again for Ben, for coming from Brooklyn, from our friends from MVRDV, for Sana, Leo, and Jaka, for doing all this trip. And most important, of course, is my partner here, Dana, that together we had this crazy idea, let's start something about rooftops, something like 5 years ago. And looks what happened. So keep on dreaming. Definitely.
רגע, עוד שתי תודות. תודה לניצן המהממת שאני לא רואה אותה, אבל...
ניצן מארגנת את הקוקטייל על הגג, אין מה לעשות, ההפקה היא תמיד צעד אחד קדימה.
אבל בזכותה הכל קרה, כאילו, נכון? אז תודה לניצן, ותודה למתן, שבאמת האיש הזה... אני לא יודעת, העולם צריך עוד כמה כאלה, ובאמת אנחנו בסדר, אנחנו מסודרים לגמרי. הרבה השראה והרבה תודה על השותפות, והרבה תודה לכם שנשארתם ובאתם, ותודה לכם שאתם עולים לשתות איתנו עכשיו על הגג, נכון? בקוקטייל.
תודה רבה לכולנו שאנחנו כאן, וקדימה, העלייה לגג, יש מעלית מי שרוצה, עולים לקומה 7, ואז שמאלה, או ימינה, או שפשוט תעלו במדרגות, זה הכי פשוט, זה הכי בריא, קדימה.